Only good thing I can say about this one is the fact that he pled guilty. South Carolina man pleads guilty, facing a life sentence after his wife's charred remains were found in a makeshift grave. I guess, yeah. I guess he didn't, he's saying, yeah. So they're not going to have to spend millions of dollars on a trial to prove the shit that he's already done. A South Carolina man faces life in federal prison after his wife's burned body was discovered in a makeshift grave in 2020. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Lawrence Joseph Florentine, who's 56, has pled guilty to interstate domestic violence resulting in death, use of a firearm during a crime of violence to cause death, obstruction of justice, and use of fire during the commission of a felony. Over 3 years after his wife, Nicole Florentine's body was found charred with a .22 caliber bullet wound to the head, determined to be her cause of death per a release. U.S. Attorney's Office noted that the two had a volatile relationship after marrying in 2018, citing records and observations from family. Since December of 2019, authorities in York County responded to multiple calls from Nicole, who accused Lawrence of physically abusing her and having threatened to kill her, burn her, and bury her. You know, the type of things that you say when you're in a heated argument with your spouse.
With your newlywed spouse.
And by the way, if anyone ever says those sort of things to you out there in the audience, it's time to run, because normal, healthy people would never fucking say anything like that.
Not in your wildest dreams. And they shouldn't even be joking about that.
If they're going to, well, I was joking. Remember that story we saw? It's like, it's the sick shit. It's like how that one asshole was obsessed with Gabby Petito and kept threatening his fiance that she was going to end up like Gabby Petito. And she did.
She did.
Because of him, allegedly.
Listen to what people say. A lot of times they tell you what they want you to know.
Sometimes you're too close to the chaos to see it. Lawrence was previously arrested twice on domestic violence charges, one of which was at least partially dismissed at Nicole's request. Which happens quite often because you're in that abuse cycle and you don't think, and why would you, it's horrible. Then on May 23rd, 2020, the couple's home in Rock Hill was destroyed by fire. A release from the U.S. Attorney's Office noted text messages and photographs Florentine sent to Nicole during the fire show that he intentionally burned her belongings and intentionally set fire to the property, the release said. Florentine is charged with arson in state court in connection with that fire. Between June 2nd and June 11th of that year, the two had been traveling together by car and were last known to be in Piedmont, South Carolina, according to an FBI investigation. Nicole's grandmother reportedly filed a missing person report when she stopped hearing from her during the trip. A body that was later identified as Nicole's was found by a groundskeeper for Hill Cemetery in Fredonia, Kentucky on June 13th, 2020. A gas can was recovered from a burned tree, or behind a tree, near the burial site. The release notes, no identification, cell phone, or other personal belongings were found. Did this guy think like taking the body to the cemetery is like taking an animal to the Humane Society and just like dropping it off and running?
Well, I wonder if he thought because it's in a cemetery, they won't think anything of it.
It just happens to be charred remains over here by this tree.
Because that's what they do in cemeteries, is just drop a body in a makeshift grave, and it's not in a casket or anything like that.
Just dig a little
what
bit.
A dumbass.
Yeah. After eyewitnesses reported seeing a car identical to Florentine's and a hardware store clerk identified a transaction for a shovel and a gas can.
Oh, my God.
To someone who matched Florentine's description, surveillance footage later featured Florentine filling the can at a nearby station per the office. You ever like when you're at a gas station, do you ever like contemplate a little bit like who's all around you? Like, wonder why they're getting gas. Is it for the lawnmower or is it for, burning their wife? Like, which one is it? And it's weird.
Go ahead.
It's weird when you go over and ask them too, because sometimes you're just like, hey, is that to burn your family members or is it you going on the boat today? And
I would caution you against asking people that question, but I want to point out if you're planning to murder somebody, and not that we're giving advice, but one thing that I've noticed is a lot of people will go to Home Depot, Lowe's, any of the home improvement places. They'll buy their duct tape. They'll buy their garbage bags. They'll buy the shovel. They'll buy whatever, all in one transaction. And I think that's what draws attention to what you're up to. If you just go in and buy a shovel, especially in the winter, nobody thinks anything of it. If you're buying duct tape, no one thinks anything of it. You buy it all together, you start to look suspicious.
It starts looking a little bit odd. Even if there are really good Black Friday sales and you don't plan on performing that murder till around Easter, just slow yourself down. I know you're going to save 35%, but trust me, it's not worth it. The more you know. No firearm was found. However, police recovered a lighter and a .22 caliber cartridge in the center console and located Nicole's blood on the rear exterior of Florentine's abandoned car. The release noted, sometime after June 11th of 2020, Florentine fled Kentucky and arrived in Denver, Colorado. On June 23rd, 2020, he surrendered to the Denver police. Florentine, who faces life in prison, also faces 8 years of supervision after his sentence and a fine of up to $250,000.
How does that work? So life in prison, but 8 years of supervision after a sentence?
Life in prison is not technically life in prison. It's whatever that state defines as life. And sometimes states define life in a term of like from the 1900s, where the average lifespan was like 40, 50 years old. And then that is what is called life. Depends on your jurisdiction.
I had no idea. See, yeah. I just learned something today.
Yeah, that's why you always want to define it by how many years is he getting, not just the word life, because life in one state means this and life in another means that.
Wow.
On state charges. Federal charges, I think, are a little bit different, but I don't know I don't know off the top of my head what the term is defined by. It's just better to say, you're facing this many years. But yeah, if he gets out, he'll have 8 years of supervision after his sentence. So maybe he'll be 94 and they'll get to watch him for 8 years. I don't know. I mean, the way some of this works, sometimes people get out far, far earlier for shit like this. And how is he going to pay that $250 restitution fine, I guess, is the next question. Why do we even impose things like that where they don't have the money? They're never going to get out. It's like, what if you do get out? We're still going to, really go after you, which I'm cool with. But it's almost like, well, we're going to say you're going to be over here, but maybe something could happen that we could screw up and let you out. Mm-hmm. And then if we do that, then how about we just, you're done. You're there for life, literally life. You're not leaving, period. We don't care how long you live. Even if you somehow are like 122, we don't care. You're staying here forever.
The only way you're getting out is in a box.
Mm-hmm. I think there would be a lot more. It's an in-a-box sentence. He'll leave the prison in a box. That would be, I think, a little more comforting to the victims and such. A date for sentencing has not yet been announced. Florentine will be sentenced by U.S. District Judge Donald C. Coggins. So that'll be on his to-do list someday. And hopefully life really means life. And the only way out, in a box.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on True Crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.